Good afternoon, Facebook. My name is Selena King, and I'm here today with Senate hopeful County Councilman Andre Horton. We're honored to be able to spend this time with you today during this time of social distancing and quarantine, but then we still have an important election coming up on June 2nd for PA State Senate, as well as other races happening across the Commonwealth and in our nation. But today we wanted to take time to talk to you so that you could hear more about Andre and also hear Andre speak directly to your concerns and issues that matter to you most. So welcome to our Facebook Live chat Q&A. And we also want to welcome you to our virtual office opening that we will talk a little more about later on. But welcome to Team Horton and the Horton campaign. Councilman Horton, would you like to speak to the people?
Yes, thank you, Selena, for that warm and wonderful introduction, and to everyone who felt enough about our campaign that you would take some time out of your busy Saturday and chime in, hopefully with plenty of questions. I'm so grateful and I appreciate your time, and I don't take it for granted. It's such a momentous day, even though we're in the COVID-19 era and we're in uncharted waters. So we'll certainly talk a little bit more about that at a little bit later in this airing of this program. But we also want to take time out and acknowledge today, April 4th, 1968, Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated, and that was the day that the world stopped as well and took pause. So, but welcome you all. We're Facebook Live, uncut, not stepped on. We're here to answer a few questions and tell you a little bit about our campaign. So thank you again, Selena.
Great, thank you, Andre. Really quick, we just want to thank all of you for being part of this live today. We thank all of our donors so far that have helped make this campaign the people's campaign. It's because of you that we are able to do what we do and to reach out into the community and make sure that your voice will be heard and properly represented in Harrisburg. Again, thank you to the team that's helped make this possible today and all of you that will be listening. So Andre, we want to talk a little bit about your experience and your leadership. I know on some of the things that we have put out, it talks about that you're experienced and you've had demonstrated leadership, but a lot of people aren't really aware of what that means. So can you define that for them and talk about what you've done?
Well, it's no secret that my family, we practice as one of our staples. Our moral code, I guess you would say, is that we would give back to others and to our community. So we're really big on service. Learning how to speak about myself in those terms, and having gone through this process, it's been brought to my remembrance some of the things that we have been able to accomplish as a community. And I want to preface my remarks by saying anything that I accomplish, although I may have gotten the credit for some of those things that no one person can do, and it truly does take a community. But with that said, I'll start back just short of my, I'll start back in the beginning. 1968 we referenced. 1968, I actually worked on my first campaign. Robert Kennedy was running for president of the United States. He was later assassinated that same year. My mother, who was a den mother, scout troop, you name it, she did it. My father was right there as well. But we put flyers out on cars and try to register people to vote even then. All my siblings were great examples of service. Okay, we're back up. So upon departing the Air Force, I was a member of the Pennsylvania State Police, Troop B Washington Barracks, for 2 or 3 years. I left the state police. I might add, I come from a family of law enforcement officers. My brother and I were actually on at the same time. He actually retired, as did several of my cousins here from the Erie community. So my extended family serves as well. And so I was the grassroots organizer for then Senator Obama's 2008 campaign. You all know we brought him here to Barron campus. That was one of the highlights of my service as well. I'm a two-term member, a two-term president of the local branch, Erie local branch NAACP. Everyone knows the first African American or the only person of color from any ethnicity to be elected to any county position in the 200 plus year of the history of the county. I'm the first African American to chair county council. I'm currently the chair for my second time around. First African American personnel chair, first African American finance chair. Currently, I'm the chair of the Pleasant Ridge Manor Retirement and Pension Fund. Currently, I'm also the chairman of the Erie County Retirement and Pension Fund. And it gives me a great honor to be chair with this new council that we have as we shepherd Erie County through its probably most transformative time in Erie County government history since the adoption of the Home Rule Charter, and to drop the COVID-19 crisis on top of it. It truly is an honor to be in a position to serve again in any capacity. I feel like that all of this has truly prepared me to lead. I feel like I'm the most experienced legislator for either party. I'm really proud of the record. Some of the things I stood for were community benefit agreements. In fact, I introduced that discussion into this part of the region, and we still hope to establish those. Maybe we'll get a chance to talk more about community benefit agreements in the era of tax abatements. I'm proud of the revitalization that Erie is going through. One of the reasons I'm running for Senate is because I don't believe everyone's voice is being heard. We should leave no man should be left behind. And I want to go to Harrisburg to fight for that, to continue that level, to continue serving the citizens of not only Erie County, but the Commonwealth. So yes, I do feel like I'm very experienced. So,
right, and I like that you said that your service is what has propelled you to be a leader, that it's more than just it being a title, but it's actually demonstrated through leadership and the efforts that you've been able to have in our community, and so we thank you for that. As we talk about you transitioning and trying to go to Harrisburg, what are some of the goals that you would like to see you work on while you're there in Harrisburg to represent 49th Senatorial District here in Erie, Pennsylvania?
Mm-hmm. Well, my first practical goal is to get Erie out of that position of being the poorest zip code, 16501 zip code in the entire country. That's my first objective, and the way that we do that is really tied to most of the work that I've done that I want to continue in Harrisburg. And that's through, I believe that education is the great equalizer. Many of you know I fought for community college and continue to do so. Still, I believe now more than ever that we need one. I think the case is being made right now for health care. I was a delegate to the Blue Green Alliance, looking at clean energy and making our neighborhoods safe, not only in terms of crime, but in terms of pollutants and contaminants. I have a number of things on my agenda that I'd like to do. It comes as no surprise that anything doing with the elderly or the youth or the young, you'll probably find me or one of my siblings there. Mm-hmm.
So as we talk about going to Harrisburg and some of the goals that you want to do, right now we're facing a nationwide pandemic, actually a global pandemic, and it's really hit hard in the United States, but we know that you have been active with County Council and our county administration in putting some things here in place for the COVID-19 pandemic. And so can you speak to what you have been doing with the rest of your colleagues and even update us on where we should be right now, the state of Erie County?
Mm-hmm. I'm very, very proud of my colleagues and the leadership that they're displaying. Goes without saying that the county executive stepped up in a leadership role in the Erie County Health Department. They don't have to take a back seat to anyone. They've certainly shown leadership. So not only my colleagues at us at County Council, but county as a whole, well, this is our lane. When we venture off into economic development from time to time, but every now and again, crisis like this remind us of what our core mission and our core objective is and must be. And so, here, what my colleagues and I have elected to do, we partnered with Dr. Perry Wood and his wonderful board of directors to create a COVID-19 response fund, and really just to provide some stopgap funding into. We wanted it to do three things. We wanted it to alleviate first, to meet the immediate human need brought about by the crisis, and we kind of sub that out to mean like the homeless people, and we want to supply food through the food pantries, and we wanted to look after the elderly and make sure that our first responders had child care. And so the second thing we wanted to do was to reach out to small businesses and to promote or even extend to them no interest or loans through Bridgeway Capital. And we also wanted to do the nonprofits and to shore them up and to grant them some stability. So immediately we put $100,000 county council into the fund. We asked gaming revenue, would they match it? They exceeded it. They put $500,000 in. Thursday or Friday, we had spent $344,000 of it on just food, and we housed some homeless in the Avalon. Thank God we were able to do that. The very first night the fund was established, the temperatures dropped to 30 degrees, and they're some of our most vulnerable. And yes, I believe that that's where our efforts here at the county level should go. And so we've done that. The county executive and the health department, we've closely followed Governor Wolf's recommendations, and we've led the way when and where we can. As you all know, a state of emergency was declared here in Erie County back in March, which lasted 7 days. And every time, because I like to teach along the way too, take teachable moments. So here's a civic moment under our home rule charter. The only one that could extend the state of emergency is county council. We've elected to do that as well incrementally while we try to figure it out. Erie County has just received a $950,000 grant awarded to our health department to be spread out across departmental lines to combat COVID-19. There's some talk of creating a COVID-19 department or bureau, and so we're looking at it, and we're able to move with the alacrity that's required for a situation as fluid as it is, and we're trying to get information out to the general public, factual information out, and if you have any doubt, you can always get factual scientific information from the Pennsylvania Department of Health, but more importantly from the Center for Disease Control on their website. We've tried to get information out to the small businesses, minority businesses. Many are barbers and stylists, certainly the daycares and some contractors. We're trying to help them navigate the SBA, process, and there are a couple of different legs or wings to that that we're trying to figure out what that means, and we're encouraging those who are in immediate need to reach out to go to the ECRA website and navigate down to the minority business loan if you have to fit that criteria. And if you're not a minority, that's just one of many loans that ECRA has. And then we have they have another fund there too that most people would be eligible for. But that minority business fund was established, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago, and Dr. Wood and certainly Bridgeway Capital have managed to support many of the black businesses that they, like all other businesses here in town, even some of the larger ones, are definitely in peril, and we can't allow, or we won't allow that. And I'm confident saying that my colleagues and I will do everything that we can to not just shore up the community, but to shore up the businesses as well.
Okay, thank you for that. Now, as we were talking about the pandemic, we have seen a lot of collaborative work that has come together. Many of our nonprofit agencies, some of our social service agencies, as well as with our local government. How can you, in the role of senator, work more effectively from the state level down to the local level?
Well, I'm a bottom up type of guy, and not from a top down type government. I truly I pride myself. I like to say anyway, and I believe that I am the most accessible elected in the county for sure, and probably in the region. And I like to just come out and hear what the people's issues are, and I've heard what their issues are. In fact, it's not their issues; they're my issues as well. Because my grandchildren and children reside here, and I reside just in the 16507 zip code, which isn't doing much better than the 16501. But there are some really, really fantastic things that are happening throughout the city and throughout the county, particularly in our urban core, which I'm proud to say that it's occurring in the second legislative district of Erie County, where I'm proud to be their representative. We have 6 of the 8 opportunity zones in the district. We have the Erie Downtown Development Corporation, and they're not perfect, but they're committed to some things. Erie's on its way up. We also have some gentrification things going too. And so, in fact, wherever the twain shall meet, I think the two meet at development, and that when county government or city government or state government says that we don't have the funds to do everything that the citizenry might need, I think that whenever we award things like RACP funding or due loan abatements, that the citizen has a reasonable expectation to receive something tangible in return. And so I think that whenever RACP grants are allotted, that there should be community benefit agreement language embedded into it. And that's not just good legislation for Erie, Selena, that's good legislation across the state, and particularly in the urban core areas where really many of the blight issues that we're faced with, we're not alone in it. And so RACP funding would be one thing that I would think that I would like to go and have the opportunity to build a consensus around. Yeah, I just think that everything starts with education, and probably ends with healthcare, and the two are very, very closely together, related.
As we talk about that, there have been some resources that you've said that are out there for people that are available right now during the COVID pandemic, not just to help them survive, but to actually thrive during this trying time. Can you speak to some of the resources that you know of that are out there?
Mm-hmm. Well, I've spoken briefly about the two main ones. But under the SBA, there's the payroll protection plan, which seems to be the popular one for businesses with 500 employees or less. That's the one that they're encouraging everyone to seek out. And then there's the I forget the acronym, CARE. There's the CARE. There's the CARE grant or loans or stimulus package or whatever it's called. I've read so much of that stuff over the last couple of days. They all kind of run together, but that's a smaller SBA loan up to $10,000 for stopgap funding. What I found, I have to tell you through my research, what I found is it seems to be a little complicated for the 10 grand or for the $10,000. It's like 1,000 hoops that one has to go through. And before you do any of that stuff, you have to first go through your bank. I would tell all the small businesses that the banks that you're associated with will probably be the best, most direct line of helping you at this point navigate some of those plans. And again, the most immediate way that you'll probably get an infusion of cash with the fewest impediments would be to go to the ECRA website and navigate to the category that fits your need. But they're pretty responsive. Bridgeway has a relationship already with the community, and they're able to streamline the process in a way that I don't think that the SBA would be able to. I know that many of the subcontractors or self-employed people who ordinarily under normal circumstances would never be considered for unemployment, would never even be eligible or required. I know that many of them are eligible for unemployment, and we would encourage them to apply as well. The things that we want to do with the COVID fund, because even with the federal stimulus that we're expecting, whether it's 1,200 or 600 or whatever formula that they're saying, that whatever category that you fall in, whatever they're trying to get, and we're really trying to get money back into consumers' hands to restart our economy. But whatever money that you get, it probably realistically won't get here till May. And so we're asking you just to be tolerant and patient in these times like these, when it's not time to point the finger or anything, but it's time to coalesce together, and we'll get through this together. And I'm really, really godly proud of the residents of Erie County for following the recommendations and for sheltering in place for the most part. And we've been able to keep the curve flat, but we're not out of the dark by any stretch of the imagination, and our worst is probably ahead. But I'm really, really proud of the Erie County residents. It's probably a couple more weeks. The governor's going till April 30th. And so, probably the most important thing to me in all of that is the mental health. I want people to take care of their mental. I know that many of the adults are stressed, whether they're business owners or just employers that find themselves without jobs. And so I actually just think about your children and what anxiety they may be feeling, and just to be honest with them in terms that they can understand, and just let them know that they're loved and appreciated. And we'll get through it together.
As we talk about getting through this together, and we're all shut in at this point, we have a very important event and duty that is actually happening right now, and that's the 2020 Census. Can you speak to why that's important, why everyone must be counted, and how that affects us, not just on a state level, but even locally?
Mm-hmm. Especially locally. I think that one of my first lessons that I learned in Politics 101 in the Horton Political Academy is that all politics are local. And while we have an interest in the federal and certainly at the state level, the things that affect you in your day-to-day life, real right here, your family, things, they're local elections. And so, and aside from the local elections, the census determines basically how much funding or how much consideration you're given from the federal government in terms of what you're eligible for, and that's determined by your population. Everyone knows that Erie used to be the third largest city in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and we lost that distinction. And I like to see it come back, and I think that I'm just naive enough to believe that we can come back, and that we will come back. But in census, you have to count everyone that's in your household. If they're a visitor and they're staying in your house, if they're a neighbor, if they're a cousin, if they're staying in your house on that day, we need their information. It determines what type of services you get. It determines everything from child care to your elderly care, your senior programs, to your youth programs, to your investment into your county's government, to state pass-through funding for children and youth. It's one of the most major things that you can do. More importantly, well, not more importantly, but just equally as important is the gerrymandering issue. Because every 10 years, man, the census determines how those lines are drawn. And hopefully we'll never have to face what they tried to do or what they actually did in Erie County. It split us right down the middle. So that stuff is determined. The political districts, geographical lines are drawn. And so it's important. It's uber important. And the census has jobs too. They'll need some people from all walks of life. They'll need new Americans. They'll need African Americans. They'll need whites. They'll need Latinos. Don't need people to go door to door. So when those of you who are listening and still don't do your census report, haven't filled it out, we send the posse out. We got to send somebody to give it to you in your terms, give it to you in your language. But it's uber important. So please, they should be in your mailbox now. Some of you have already received them. Fill them out. Don't wait. Get them back. It'll give you some practice on something else that we'll talk about, and that's the mail-in ballot. You might as well get ready for that too. I truly believe we're going to have a regular election, but the area that we live in, the mail-in ballot. And so I'm going to encourage you to ask for the mail-in ballot. My colleagues at County Council and the County Executive and the Election Board, thanks Vice Chair Carl Anderson and the Election Board, we said we'll pay for all the postage. So there's really no need for you not to fill out the census, and there's certainly no need for you, there's certainly a need for you to get to the polls and vote. Again, the census is uber important. Stand up and be counted. That's the first way to be counted. And the second way for you to be counted and to have your voice heard and raise your voices is through registering and then going out and vote on June 2nd. When you go out and vote on June 2nd, you want to look for Andre Horton. I'm first on the ballot for State Senate, District 49.
And while we're still talking about the census, we definitely, if you have not received one in mail, you can go online and do it 10 minutes or less. The website, we'll put it in our comments and pin it, but it is www.2020census.gov. Again, www.2020census.gov. Do it today after this live is over. We don't want you to leave the live, but do it after the live is over and make sure that you get it in. Be counted, be heard, and we're going to circle back to the election because that's really important. So we will cover mail-in and vote ballots later in this segment. One of the things that we want to talk about too is just the support that has come. I know we've been dubbing this as the People's Campaign, and I've heard it used a lot of times, and it really wasn't representative or reflective of the people. But we definitely want to talk about just the support that you've gotten and how as a grassroots campaign differs from other campaigns that we've seen.
Well, first of all, because I'm not no Johnny come lately, I ride my big red Schwinn bike with the white walls through the neighborhoods that aren't that popular, and I get off and I go and I walk through people's gardens with them, and I stop and I talk to the kids on the block, and I stop and I meet parents' needs the best that I can, and so I'm very accessible, and people have reciprocated. I think that when people see you and they know that you're authentic and that you're responsive and that you care, then you know it's a sad farmer who plants a field and doesn't expect a harvest. And so we've always taught seed time harvest through the faith that we practice, and that you know, some people call it karma. In the institution that I go to, we say seed time harvest, and we believe that when you sow good seed, you'll receive good seed. And so we've had an outpouring, a groundswell of support. It's really quite humbling. There's no one ethnicity. There's no one gender. It's just a bunch of grassroots people who are tired of seeing the same old things from the same old people. Want something new, want real change, and nothing says change of every race on the ballot. Nothing says change more than this candidacy. And I think when people genuinely want to see that, not just see it, they want to be a part of it. And so the team Horton, I mean, just we've assembled and just so much talent. We've assembled so much talent, and I'm pleased as punch that they would come out, and even on our social media sites. Oh God, it's so humbling to see the people standing up with signs saying, "I support Andre Horton." And so we're going to do "I support Andre Horton" first, signs, but at some point after you fill out your census, come back, flip that sign over on the other side and say, "I stood up and I was counted." But the election and the support that we have, it's very, very humbling.
While we talk about support, we wanted to circle back to the importance of registering to vote and getting your mail-in ballots in. One of the ways that you can do that is to do it online. That's the most preferred method, and that website is www.votespa.org. Again, that's www.votespa.org, and that's where you can get your mail-in ballot, which is due back by April 28th, and then you can register to vote as well. Can you speak to what the county's doing, what you've been doing, what our team has been doing to get people registered, even though we're still shut in, and getting people the mail-in ballot?
Man, I keep telling you, I'm proud of the people that I've worked with at the county. It's been some really pleasant surprises. We have an outstanding voter registration office. Ms. Tanya Witt was the director there, and that's a bureau up under our county council auspices, and so they've been open, a skeletal crew. They've had a lot of work to do. This is the first year that we're going to have new machines. We're going to do paper ballots, so it's a lot of new information. We have Act 77, the state statute change. You should visit that website because it's going to have all that information on there. It'll have important dates on there, dates for you to remember, last day to register. Who can register, where to register. We have a mailbox now that you can drop in under Act 77. Erie County's election board set the standard. We were the first election board in the state, in the Commonwealth, to say that we were, and to actually put out a box safeguarded that voters can actually walk up and drop their vote in. So we're excited about those new changes. What else? There's going to be demonstrations. We've demonstrated the new machines at various sites. We were in the midst of it when the virus hit and the state of emergency came about. But they're taped those demonstrations, and they'll be online here within the next week to 10 days, I would suspect. Showing you, walking you through step by step how to vote on the new machines, or telling you how to mail in your ballot, and anything else you need to know about voting on the June 2nd primary.
Great. And also, if you are not technologically savvy and do not want to register online, our county voter registration office is taking phone calls and mailing out mail-in ballots. You can reach them at 451-6275. Again, that's area code 814-451-6275. They will mail it back out to you, and then the postage is already paid for, and you can just drop it back in the mail to them, and they'll also be able to answer any other questions that you have regarding the upcoming election. So we've pretty much gotten through our portion of the chat today, but we want to get to your questions. We want to hear from you, and you hear directly from Andre on some of the issues that are most important to you right now and some issues that are affecting us locally. So one of the questions asked, what can be done to improve access to health care?
Well, that's one of the reasons I backed President Obama and the Affordable Health Care Act. And I think the case is being made right now in the midst of this epidemic or pandemic, why we need some form of universal health care. I think that there will be many lessons to learn from this episode in our history, but probably one of the biggest ones, along with how we do how our economy it comes back, would be healthcare. So we're seeing the first responders, our nurses, and our physicians, and even all the people who clean in the rooms in the hospitals. We're already seeing that our hospitals are being overwhelmed. We don't have the equipment necessary to save lives. And many are going to be faced with very, very serious choices or hard choices of who to ventilate, who not to intubate. And so the case about healthcare is being made now, and you'd have to live in a silo close to the moon to not see that. And so when I go to Harrisburg That'll be a number 2 on my menu if we haven't got the college, community college, together. And I think the two are so closely intertwined. And so, yeah, we'll go down and we'll introduce legislation, and we'll fight for it. And we'll try to build consensus with those who are like-minded. We'll continue to listen uh, to those in the industry and those activist groups who fought hard and advanced us incrementally to where we are, and we're that much closer to a universal health care.
Good. Another question we had asked, when elected, what would you do differently than our current senator?
What would I do differently? First of all, I'd go down and I wouldn't say, oh, I don't have the votes, and so we're not going to talk about it. First of all, I'd go down and I'd raise the issues that the people wanted from the ground up. I'd raise issues that were important. If you're talking specifics, the first thing I'd do is I'd go down and I'd demand that we have a community college and that Erie gets the representation in the same respect that other parts of the Commonwealth get. It's no secret that even when back in the 1800s, when both assemblies of the Commonwealth were formed, they referred to northwestern Pennsylvania, particularly Erie, as the wilderness until we fought that little war out there that we're always talking about. We saved the Union and indeed the country. We coined the phrase, don't give up the ship. And we were important then. And the only time that Erie seems to be important is around election time. And so I've seen our state delegation go down and do the best that they can, but come back empty-handed. I haven't seen the fight. I haven't seen them come back and explain or ask people what they want. And I intend to go down there and do that. So I won't do, and I don't see that being done right now. I'm going to go down. I'm going to talk about keeping Pope, the mental, our mental institutions open at a time right now, when mental health is on the forefront of everything that we do, and in terms of taking care of people. Now it's not the time to be closing those institutions, and many of those people will wind up in prison. That again speaks to health care. Prison cannot be the health care facility for those who are requiring medical or mental first aid.
And while we're talking about just taking care of the community and the necessities that people need to live, we're also dealing with in this time that a lot of people are not having jobs or income, so there are shutoffs that are pending, there are evictions that are happening. What can you say to those individuals that are even watching now that are going through that, experience a utility shutoff, experience a pending eviction notice? What can be done? What can they do?
Yeah, that one there. That one there chokes me up, Selena, because it's not some abstract thing that we're watching. Lester Holt, Channel 12 News. It's those are people that we know. Those are our friends and our loved ones and our families, our neighbors, our co-workers. And it's tough right now. And it's hard to be honest and tell them the truth that it's probably going to get tougher before it gets better. I can tell them that where the resources are. If they can't get there, I can come down, I'll take them there myself. I've carried people in my car. One of the saddest things I've seen since this whole thing started was people gathered in the parking lot last Saturday in the middle of the rain, trying to get out of the rain, nowhere else to go. I knew some of those people. Some of those people, they're not people who come here from other places. Those are people, family members here. I think that we've done what we can do at the county level, and I know that they've stopped evictions, but the bills don't stop. Whether you're a private, person or a business owner, the bills keep coming. The mortgages keep coming. I just want to encourage them and try to tell them to stay hopeful. and that better days are ahead. Um, we're doing what we're supposed to do to flatten the curve. Um, we're in a place that we've never been before. I love to tell you that everything is going to be uh, life as you knew it. But the reality of it is people are dying all over this country, and it's not going to be life as you know it. There are going to be shared sacrifices by everyone. But I can assure you that my colleagues in Erie County Council, I can assure you that we're going to do everything we can to make sure that we meet those immediate needs through the services that we offer. We're going to spare no cost. We have a request in right now on our Tuesday agenda. We're trying to put more money into the COVID-19 fund. I would say that if your utilities are getting cut off, that you could contact the Attorney General or the Pennsylvania Utility Commission. I would say that if you have creditors, that you should reach out to your creditors and see if you can get I guess the big word now is forbearance. And what forbearance means, all it is delayed payment, or they can put your payment on the back end sometimes, so they'll make out some arrangement where they won't come after you. And in this time, this is just not an Erie problem. This is not just a Pennsylvania problem. This isn't just a United States problem. This is a global pandemic. The world's economy is hanging in the balance. But I do know that we're resilient people, and if anybody will get through it, people in the United States will get through it. And if anybody in the United States will get through it, people in Erie will get through it. And so, yeah, stay hopeful, stay prayerful, lean on your faith, draw closer to your loved ones, shelter in place, go out when need be. If you not sure of anything, and you have questions or uncertainty, and you have anxiety, contact the county. We have services to help you talk to someone, try to walk you through it. Sometimes I need to be talked off the cliff.
And I'm glad you said that, also to contact the county. But for utilities, the governor has issued a moratorium statewide on the shutoff of utilities. That would be your gas, electric, water. That information is definitely on the Commonwealth and the governor's website. Again, to make sure that if you have car notes or mortgages, that you reach out to the lenders, and your credit card payments. A lot of companies are giving deference or forbearance at this time. So if you have additional questions that we did not address regarding this topic, please feel free to inbox us. Our team is here to help you. We're in this together, and when one hurts, we all hurt. So we want to make sure that we're able to assist you in that. As we talk about us all hurting, we talked about the redistricting and how important that is with the census. One of our questions asked, will you support the establishment of a nonpartisan commission for another redistricting that is pending?
I'm not sure I would or not. I'd have to look at the issue. First, I've heard of the discussion or whatever, and I've visited it before, but I haven't visited it enough to weigh in on it. I'm certainly not decided one way or the other. I know that we can never allow what happened in the last redistricting to happen. And I'm not sure that, I guess the big argument is, should we put that commission of people who aren't elected, of non-elected, should we give them that decision and that authority? Or should people who are elected make that authority? And so the courts are going to weigh in on it, whoever makes that authority. So I'll look at the issue, check back with me, and I'll have an answer for you.
Great. We ask that you still send in your questions, whether you send them on our Instagram page or Twitter or on our inbox here at Facebook, or even just here in the live. We want to hear from you. One of the questions also asked, what would you do to be more effective at the state level than you've already been as president or chairman of county council?
Mm-hmm. Well, I hope I would have the same results that I'm having so far. As I look, we're a quarter of the way through the calendar year, through my chairmanship, and we've upped our game as far as transparency under my leadership. Whereas in the past, if you came down to county council, you'd see things moved rather quickly. And our meetings were a little bit different than city councils. You'd come down and you'd see us do a caucus, and someone would present something that very day, and we go in caucus, and they'd say, "Can we move it to a second reading?" And parliamentarily, that's not how it was intended. It's intended to have a first reading and a law period, and then you come back for a second reading at your next general meeting, and you vote. And so we've instituted, at my request, well, we don't do that anymore. We feel that the citizens should be allowed to weigh in between those readings while we're spending their tax dollars. However, we are in COVID-19 times, and we didn't paint ourselves in the corner. We left ourselves out for emergencies. We didn't know that we would have this emergency, but I'm proud to say that the only second reading that was advanced was COVID-19 state of emergency response. So citizens get a chance to weigh in on it. I'd like to say that with 4 new members on council, it's been a joy. I hope they're learning from me, and I'm certainly learning from them. But it's my job, whether they're Republican or Democrat, to make them better legislators in this process. And so they've certainly all have came and told me that they're learning things, and that they appreciate the work that we've done. We're still shepherding us through the community college process. We put forward the request under my leadership to gaming revenue to start the COVID-19 fund. And so even whether I'm chair or not, I like to think I've been effective. We have summer jobs program because I've learned how to build consensus. And I know that you can go somewhere with the best of intentions, but if you don't have the diplomacy and the support of your peers, or the ear of your peers at least, to make the argument, then whether you're chairman or not, it's not going anywhere. So I've achieved quite a bit just in this second time around. The first time around as chair, I went through the contentious EMTA charter fight. We got the charter they wanted 50 years. I said absolutely not. We went round and round for 2 years on it. We got it down to a 10-year thing, because I didn't believe that you should tie up public resources for that length of time. I don't think you should. I think it betrays the public trust. And so we got that down. We were able to. We saved. In that process, we saved the county $100,000 a year. Census $100,000 a year because of the composition of the board change. We didn't get everything we wanted. We wanted to look beyond EMTA just being a bus company. We wanted to look at it as a transportation system, and that includes all modes of transportation that passes through Erie County. And I can go on and on, because some of the things, the trains that come through here, some of the materials they're carrying, and so we have the Erie Coke thing, but there's a lot of issues that's going to require that the county and the city people are going to need help from people at the state, and I'm that help. You don't hear anyone else talking about those things. Probably don't hear about them. I go out on a limb. They're probably receiving funding from them. I don't know. But you don't hear them talking about those things, and those are things that I hear every day. Citizens throughout Erie County talking about, whether they're from Corey, whether they're from Albion, or whether they're from the city of Erie, west side or east side, Bayfront, or south of the city. Because most people generally want the same thing. They want quality, affordable education for their children, and a job for the child afterwards, so he doesn't have to leave and they can still enjoy their grandchildren. They want to make more than minimum wage. They want family sustaining jobs and employment. They want safe streets. My whole life has been dedicated to all of those things. Again, I'm not a Johnny come lately coming telling you, promising you what I'll do. I'm proud of the things that I've done, and I'll stand on it. I'll stand on it with the current senator or with the other Democratic hopeful. I'm by far the most experienced candidate in the race, and I'm very, very, very proud of it. And I'll continue to learn, and I'll continue to grow. I want to do that in Harrisburg.
Great. And it's hard to wrap all that you've done in a few minutes or even this hour segment that we're trying to do. So we are grateful for your leadership. We're thankful for everything that you've done, and we do look forward to you taking us higher government-wise and even as a community going to Harrisburg. One of our last questions that we want to talk about before we close out and do some housekeeping things is that a lot of people are asking, how can they stay safe by staying in? Why is it so important to stay in during COVID-19? And can you talk to the people about that?
Yes, it's very important that you shelter in place. Right now, we're when they say that we're at war, we're really at war, and we don't have the adequate testing. Everyone's not being tested. They say that everyone doesn't need to be tested, but that's changing rather rapidly. They say at one point you don't need a mask, to now they're asking everyone to wear masks. And so we're still learning a lot about it. It's hard to track the epidemiology of it all without the testing. It's hard to say where the hot spot is. And so you have to assume that that you have it, or that you have to act like you have it, or that someone in your family have it. You really have to protect yourself. It is real. What young people tend to hear is, oh, it's a virus that attacks old people. But that's not what they said. What they said was old people are more susceptible to dying. But I'm here to tell you that young people will die as well. They have numbers up to from 1 million to 2 million people could die if we don't keep the curve down. Erie County has done their part so far in staying at home, but some of you are hard-headed. I hear people asking about the churches, and yes, we're not getting into church and state, and so they're in that gray area. But I've read that Bible thing too a couple of times, and it says even back in the biblical days, they kept the lepers out of the camp, and so they practiced social distancing back then. One might say, because safety, as in any in every area that I've ever been in, safety is always paramount and should always be number one. And so if you don't want to expose your loved ones, then don't go around a bunch of people. Stay out of crowds. They tell you wear a mask or bandana, wear a mask or bandana. If they tell you keep 6 feet, keep 6 feet. Because the bottom line is we could be overrun, and we might not have the equipment if we are overrun to keep you alive. We have 19 was the last known number that we have. I'm telling you through my experience and working with it that 19 could be 150 in a week, and it could be 250 in 10 to 12 days. Or if we do what we're supposed to do, and I'm confident that we will, it could be 19 or 22 or 23. But we're blessed. Please remember our first responders. That includes our store clerks. If you're at Giant Eagle, Target, Tops, any of those places that we're getting the essential things that we need, you, my friend, are our first responder as well. And we're going to do everything to make sure Erie's fine right now as far as PPEs. But many in the Erie community have stepped up and started making PPEs and masks, for our friends and neighbors and for our first responders who need them. That's that Erie strong that we're talking about. That's that spirit of yes we can. That's that spirit of having the political will to do it. That's the spirit that I'm going to take to Harrisburg with you. I'm going to take to not a maybe we can spirit. I'm going to take a yes we can spirit. And when they say no we can't, I'm going to say why can't we? And so I'm asking you on June 2nd. I hope you've enjoyed it, got the information that you needed. You certainly can reach out to the campaign at electandrehorton.com. If you don't remember anything else, On June 2nd, besides staying safe, on June 2nd, I'm number one on the ballot. Whether you mail in or walk in, I humbly ask for your support on June 2nd. I won't let you down.
And while we talk about the spirit of yes, we can, we need you to join us on Team Horton to go out and volunteer. When volunteering right now traditionally was going door to door, but due to our circumstances, we are making phone calls every day. We are reaching out in different kind of methods that is usually not the traditional way, and so we need your help. We also need you to support by getting a yard sign. If you'd like a yard sign, let us know. If you'd like to also endorse Andre by saying why you support him and why your needs are important to be heard in Harrisburg that he will represent, we'd like you to do that as well. You can do all of that through our website at www.electandrehorton.com. There's a volunteer tab, an endorse tab, as well as a tab to request a sign. We'll make sure that we get it to you without any contact, and that we'll be able to help you show your support for this campaign. Again, we thank you so much for your time. This won't be the last time that we do this, will it, Andre?
Oh, no.
So we'll be back again. So please send in your questions. Keep sending them in. We'll get back to you. This campaign never closes, so we'll be able to reach you. Andre, do you have any parting words?
Yes, there are so many other entities and organizations. As I said before, when we first came on, that anything that I do or anyone does is not a standalone task. And so there are many people out there like the Sisters of St. Joseph, the Benedictine Sisters, certainly many of the communities of faith, the Islamic Cultural Center. Reach out to those institutions. Maybe they don't have the answer to your need or the resource, but they'll know where to steer you to, and you can always reach out to myself at Erie County Courthouse. My office is room 114 when you're allowed to come back down there, but in the interim, you can call me at 451-6303. And that's my courthouse number, and that's not a campaign hustle or anything like that. That's something that if you're uncertain about what's going on here in Erie County in the here and now, not on June 2nd, not next month, but right now, if your family's experienced something and you need some help or some encouragement or some direction, you can contact the campaign during off-peak hours. If you wish to speak to me directly, you can contact my office. Leave your number, your contact information, or leave it at the campaign, and someone will get back to you rather directly. I want to thank Selena. Most of all, I want to thank you, Facebook audience. I work for you. You guys feed my spirit. Please stay safe.